Today, I think we're going to start with the injector. Injectors are definitely a new one for us, especially on these old cats. But I'm going to give it a go. I got lucky and I got these injector rebuild kits, and they were the last ones that they had. But Dad's over in the part washer cleaning up some of the injectors off of the 7J that we know was running only a year and a half or so ago. I don't like the looks of the bottom of some of these. Now this is the one that came out of this bad pre-combustion chamber on 4G, and there's a lot of rust pitting and it's in very poor shape. So I worry about this surface here so that it'll seal. That's my biggest concern. But I'm not a fan of the rust pitting on here. I've got this other one here that's we replaced the pre-combustion chamber for, but I don't know. The biggest issue with these, and I already took one apart just to experiment and see what it is, what's inside of it. And this is the service kit that goes in the bottom. They're actually quite simple. This is where the magic is, all of the adjustment right there and those set screws. And I'm not going to mess with the adjustment on any of these because I've got really no way to test it. This is the spring that actuates the plunger, that actuates the service kit. This tapered end goes in first, down in here to the injector nozzle. And you can't really see it, but there's a very tiny little pinhole in there. And that is what squirts the diesel fuel out of the bottom of it when that's pulsed. So when the injector gets a pulse from the main fuel pump, this is what opens it up. And I'm pretty sure that all this does is set the injector pulse impulse duration and quantity of fuel. Now, early on when we started this project, and I really, especially in my older videos, I really didn't know what I was doing, and it was obvious. But I've learned quite a bit, and I was able to get this loose out of the bottom of the injector right here, and that's how you have to do it to get to the service kit. The problem is these other injectors are very stuck. So I think my solution to that might be just to put this in my vise and put my induction heater around here just to heat that up so I can break it loose. And you can see in there, that's very dirty. That's also something you want to look out for. I thought you were done with this.
Yeah, well, there's always cleaning.
Yeah.
But we've got 90% of it done
We
now.
do. And I've got these 7J injectors that we do know were working. And that engine was running. Now, it had a miss, but it also had a broken compression ring, as we all saw when we took it apart. You can see some of these got a little bit warm by the discoloration down on the bottom. This one looks really good. Absolute worst case scenario, we've got 4 more here if we have to use them, and we've got some on the 5Ts outside. And bigger. There we go. Whoa, something popped. But it's moving.
Good or bad?
It sounded like a bad pop. I've been told to make sure that this is very clean in here so you get a nice cone with the spray. So when we get that off of there, I think maybe I'll polish that up inside there. Holy mackerel. Unbelievable. I think that pop was just rust. That thing's ugly in there. So we had taken these up to Antique Crawler Parts, all but the one that we had apart here on the bench, and he tested them with a D2, and none of them were good. All of them needed some work. So, as I can see, this one is stuck. So, I think that's what our problem was. It was just, oh, look, it stripped the threads. That's not good. That actually came apart okay. There it goes. Disc plunger up the top of the spring. What were you just saying about the injector that the threads got destroyed?
Well, we're lucky that we have extras, because if we only had 4G and we're working on it and no extras, then now we have a problem. But we've got a set here, we got a set there, we got another set out there.
Yep.
We're golden.
Yeah, Dad said
we ought to out of 2 engines, we ought to be able to find one good set of injectors.
I would think, and like Dad just said, he said I'd be crying the blues right now if we didn't have those.
How nice those are.
Oh yeah, are all 4 of them like that?
Well, and this one's good. This one's a little marginal. It's a little pitted. But there's 3 that are beautiful here. Pitted and corroded, that is.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And this one's not much better.
Should we pull the ones out of this other 7J and see what they look like?
This one isn't much better.
Well, that one's, the threads are trashed.
Yeah, I know.
So it's...
But I'm just looking at that piece. And this one, this was the best one, but...
But it's pitted because it was in this bad pre-combustion chamber.
Right,
so
right.
We don't want to use this.
We could pull one of those if you want and look at it.
Let's pull one off this other 7J. They're easy to pull. We just take our fuel line off.
Which one you want to pull?
I don't know. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't know.
The one on the end is more accessible.
Well, it is, but that's number 4. That's the one that gets heat. So...
True.
Theoretically, this would probably be the best one to pull up here at number 1.
The hardest one to get to?
Yeah, of course. Right. Naturally. Well, it's on the end. There's actually supposed to be a cork or a seal, I think, under here. And I think I got some of those a while back to keep that dirt from getting into those threads. I'm going to loosely just put these back together. I don't think we're going to use any of these 4G ones. Ooh, it's got some rust on it. Pre-combustion chambers. It's probably okay. It ain't great.
Look at this, though. This is what...
Oh, yeah, that's nice and clean.
It's smooth. It's beautiful.
We could clean that up. I might as well just pull the rest of them off. We might have a few good pre-combustion chambers in there, and there's no reason to plug up that hole because there's no pistons in there. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Ooh. That's a surprise. I think that pre-combustion chamber had been maybe replaced. It's the cleanest of the bunch. I'm learning as I go here, and I think, why the threads got destroyed. There's a little pin inside of here. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. And this one had it. Most of them haven't had that. There hasn't been anything in those. The other 2 that really unscrewed quite easily, they didn't have it. And I'm guessing that's a lock pin, because if you go in on this one that I just unscrewed rather easily, sorry about this, long-winded, yada yada, there's a tiny hole here, and I think that's how you lock it. There's a little pin that goes in there. But none of these others had it, so that's a little bit perplexing. Of those ones we just took off that other 7J engine, only one of them has it. The Hannah Montana ones, nope, nope.
No, I don't think they do.
Nope, and nope. None of them have it. Got that one out. Just like a little 90-degree little piece of wire. I'm kind of mad at myself that I did that. I can see right here where it went into this. I think I sheared it off, and maybe that's what that pop was when I started taking this apart.
Yeah.
Because it went into this hole like this on this other one. Here's the plan. Put all these 4G ones back together, throw them on a shelf, and forget about them. We're going to use the newer 7J ones. They're a mess. They're going to go in this box, they're going to get labeled, and they're going to sit on a shelf until... hopefully the day we don't need them and I end up selling them. But I'm going to keep them for now just in case. Some of you might remember this embarrassment of a tool that I made in one of my earlier videos. Well, this does fit the 4G ones to take them apart. These ones off the 7J are wider down here, and it's a different size. And yeah, I'm so embarrassed of some of my earlier videos, but I'm going to leave them up. They might be useful to somebody. We just opened up one of Hannah Montana's injectors, and it unscrewed like a champ, like it's supposed to. There's the service kit. I might just change this out. We'll clean this up and put it back together. There's no reason not to use these. They're fine. We're going to take this apart in some really super clean solvent and see if we can get it working again. And these are a very critical part. That little bitty nozzle in there that you can barely see, if it gets plugged up or messed up, that throws everything off. And I learned this from somebody that does this for a living. This is another one off of 4G Savior, Hannah Montana. And I'm finding that if I just use my induction tool, put a little heat on it, it breaks right loose. And another reason we need to take these apart is because right inside there, there's a cork. This one's dilapidated and needs to come out of there anyway. But I've got new ones. They are a 2A4344 cork. Cat still has them. But they will not fit over that. I suppose you could stretch them, but that's pretty risky. So we'll get these apart. I'll put the new service kits in here, and I'll put new corks in here. Tape them off. We'll paint them. We'll be ready to go. I've gotten these cleaned up really well. I took some Scotch-Brite. Actually, Dad did. But I finished the rest of them, and a little bit of solvent, and that Scotch-Brite shined them up really nice, especially down here where they need to seat. This one's probably the worst of the bunch. It's got a little bit of pitting, but the seat's okay. I'm not too worried about it. These four are off the Hannah Montana, and they're substantially better than the 4G ones. I shouldn't have even attempted to try and do the 4G ones. Now I need to clean up the tops of these, and I think once I get them cleaned up, I'm going to take a little bit of Marvel or Croil and just squirt inside these so there's oil in them. I am going to go ahead and put the new service kits in here. I'm not too concerned about these last three. These are moving just fine. The holes are a little bit plugged up, but I've been warned not to try and clean those. It can actually cause other problems. But this one over here, this one's stuck. I can't get it to move. So I have the parts. I'm just going to use it. I'll still have one extra if I need it. And I'll keep these old ones that are still working. I already wire brushed all these off, cleaned them off in the solvent tank. And I'll put a little bit of cleaner inside here to blow out any debris and contaminants that might have gotten in there. Just going to polish up this surface up at the very top of the injector on a piece of Scotch-Brite here, just so that there's no high spots on that when I go to hook it back up to the system. One last wipe down to make sure everything's clean on the outside. There's no sense taking these apart up here. All that's up here is the adjustment. I'm not going to make any adjustments. I don't want to have to find another crush washer for up here. So I'm just going to dribble a drop or two of Marvel Mystery Oil in there. It's for fuel systems, right? I'm going to put this back in here. Then our 2A4344 right inside of that cup. Next, I'm going to install my injector service kit, and this is a 6B914. This is an old Monarch one made in West Germany. Before I go any further there, I'm going to put a drop of Marvel in here and a drop in here. Let's open up our service kit. Those are really cool. That's even marked on here. West Germany. And that plunger's nice and tight, yet still free. So that's the way it's supposed to work. The new one's a little different than the ones that came out of here. These have these two little dowels, and you can kind of see on the camera they're offset to one side. So this plate only goes to one side, and that keeps it aligned. But the way that the new ones work is this plate just basically sits in there, like so, on top of the bottom of this injector, and the circle part here goes downward. I'm going to put a drop of Marvel in there, and this might be the hard part. I need to drop this in there. I knew it. There we go. Drop a Marvel there, and then I'll put my service kit in. Now, this little dog ear right there, it's on the very top. You can see it down in there. So that dog ear needs to line up with that for this to sit in there all the way. I'll drop that in. I might need to kind of finagle that around in there a little bit to make sure it gets lined up. You can see it's seated down there in the bottom where it's supposed to be. And that plunger in the middle of the injector, when it pulses with fuel, will open that up. I'm going to put a little drop of Marvel around there, a couple of them. Drop on the threads, and we can screw this together. And I need to keep that downward so that the injector service kit doesn't fall backwards out of there. And that's it. That's one rebuilt injector. That one's done. We got our gasket in there. Everything's put together where it needs to be. You can definitely see how clean and open the end of this injector is with that new service kit in it. After we get the fuel pump set up and all these injectors on the machine, I can do the inverted ejector test where we look for the cone spray. You guys get the point. I'm going to finish these up. I'll get some degreaser, go over them, and put some primer on them later. Well, the injectors are ready. They got new service packs in them. I think we're ready to move along. I do want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. So somehow, we ended up with around 9 D4s out here. We got one that runs, sort of. Hopefully another one. And then another one after that, but I really like having all these parts and all these D4s. Wonder if I play some music for them. They'll reproduce when we're not looking. Okay, you guys. We'll check back later.